Hey guys, it's me, EODGamer here. Let's talk about three major things about this Lightcone. One, is it really very good on Rappa? And if it is, why? Because we want to know whether there are any alternatives that we can find, which is the second thing we want to talk about. And third, can it be used on anyone else? If we are spending good amounts of money, resources on this, we want to know whether it actually scales with time, whether there's actually value in the long run. Now let's talk first about section 1, which is what makes this so good on Rappa? We all know that signature Lightcones, definitely they are going to be very strong, otherwise Hoivers aren't going to make their money on us. But what makes this really good? One, it has very high base attack, 582 base attack. This is super high. It's higher than a lot of the alternatives in the game, 4 stars and free to play 5-star gear. So very exciting for a character that is a DPS in nature. She likes this high base attack. Other than that, everything in the subs are great. But one huge caveat before we get super excited about all this, to be honest, they all can be found in parts on other gear around. So just a quick disclaimer. But let's talk about what makes this so great so that we know exactly what we are finding in alternatives. One, it gives her break effect, which she skills off with. She's a break character. She likes this. It gives her the stats that she needs. When entering battle, immediately regenerates 30 energy. This is probably the thing that a lot of people are hyping up over because this allows her basically to do after entering the battlefield, you start with half gauge, right? And then once you have this Lightcone, you get a bit extra energy, you cast a skill, you cast a technique, you will be able to launch her enhanced basic attacks straight away from the get-go. And there are other ways to improve that speed. So if you're going for a 0-turn cycle, this energy does matter a lot for you. But for many of you, I think watching this video might not care too much about a 0-turn rotation. Then I would say it's not super critical. It's just nice to have a good additional bonus. But other than that, the last line here is also really fantastic. It gives you action advance basically after you use your 2 basic attacks once you use your out. So you use your out, you have your enhanced basics, you cast the enhanced basics twice, and then you action advance yourself by 50%. This is huge because it's pseudo speed buff, right? It gives you action advance, which is arguably better than speed. It pushes you up the action order to help her do more damage, run through the cycles faster, which directly improves her DPS. So it's fantastic. This suits her kit really well, but no surprise, right? Surprise, her signature is the best. But you can actually find a lot of this in other Lightcones, and that's the second part that I want to talk about, is how to save you some money so you don't have to FOMO and spend for all the very expensive stuff. And that lies with the alternatives for other erudition Lightcones. We'll touch whether the signature is really good for other characters as well, if you really are down to spend. There are 3 main alternatives. Let's start first things first with probably the most hyped up one. The reason why I say the energy is very hyped up for the signature is because it's not very critical. If you have Make the World Clamor, which a lot of us early players, you probably got this from free if you just joined the game when it first dropped, and then along the way we probably got more copies and no one really uses this. So if you're looking for that energy for that first turn rotation, Make the World Clamor, first turn ultimate, this Make the World Clamor is actually better. It gives you a bit more energy and it's a lot cheaper. Unfortunately, it doesn't give you all the other things, the high base attack. This is only 476 versus her signature at 500 plus. But if you're just looking for the energy, this is actually a good alternative for those of you who care about 0-turn clears. So this is an alternative if you can't spend the extreme amounts of money. The other alternative is after the Harmony fall. This is probably the more balanced one for 4 stars because it gives you a lot of break, even at Super Imposition 1. Unfortunately, they're both gacha, so we don't have access to a lot of them. At least that's my opinion as well. With this break effect, 28%, and correct me if I'm wrong in the comments below if this is an event Lightcone or something like that. But break effect, 28% is decent. It also gives you that speed, so it gives you a bit of the additional parts, right? If you see her, for example, this part here in her signature, it gives you break effect in the first part and gives you some sort of action advancing in the last part. It skips out on the middle part here, which is energy after the Harmony fall. This is also really good for her. So 2 4-star options if you're looking for certain of the sub-stat abilities that you really like completing your stats and whatnot. The overall, I think, healthiest for account-wide growth, especially for those of you who do not have the 4-star limited gear, limited 4-star Lightcones at Super Imposition 5, Eternal Calculus is actually a really solid Lightcone. Why is it? Is one of them is probably not many other characters are actively using this on your account. Increases the wearer's attack by 12%. At Super Imposition 5, you can get it Super Imposition 5 because it's a Herta shot free Lightcone. You just need to do your weeklies and stuff like that. 8% attack increase times 5. This is potentially a 40% from this second line here that can go up to 52% attack buff. Huge, right? Massive amount of buff. And she scales with attack as well, so it's really nice. If there are 3 or more enemies hit, which erudition characters tend to hit more enemies, in the modes that they play into, unit speed increases by 16%, which is really nice too. So you get the pseudo action advancing kind of thing that her signature gives. And the most important part is it gives you very high base attack. 5 to 9 versus the 4 stars, which are 10% less. Of course, her signature is 10% more base attack. So there is a bit of a trade-off, but I think overall the trade-off is pretty nice. These are the 3 options I'll go with. Personally, I'll probably just be running Eternal Calculus, especially if I don't really care too much about the 4-star alternatives. This is like less like a stable alternative. Overall, it gives you a lot of attack. A few other questions that some of you might have is Knight of Milky Way. Knight of Milky Way is great because it gives you very, very high base attack, and it gives you decent amounts of attack as well. If you have it at like Super Imposition 1, that's like 45%. This is also not too bad. If you have it, I think it's also worth considering. Otherwise, Eternal Calculators, everyone has this, right? Eternal Calculus. Some other Lightcones that you might be thinking of is like Passkey. I don't really like this too much. This is, of course, you first lose a lot of attack, which she scales off with. This is not a great idea. You give the energy, granted, but she doesn't use her skill so much, so it doesn't really help her that much, since she's actually a very, very neutral, or maybe just -1 skill point negative character if you just cast it right at the start. So she doesn't really want to use a skill point. Passkey is not that great. Other options, Seriousness of Breakfast. I wouldn't use this. I much more prefer the Eternal Calculus at this point. I think that's a lot better. So those are like some options. The next question, which is the third point that I want to talk about, is can this Lightcone over here be used on any other characters in Honkai style? Because if we are spending that amount of money, we want to know, is this actually like versatile? Can it actually be used on any others? The key thing that I want to talk about is the break effect over there, as well as not the energy. Of course, all characters in the game use it, but who can use basic attacks and get that action advance? So out of all the Erudition characters in the game, let's first ask who doesn't mind scaling with break effect. With the recent Hule MOC, both sides are weak to fire. Super Break Himiko has actually gotten a lot more popular. In that case, Himiko is probably like the top candidate for a break effect Lightcone right now, especially if those of you who are like trying to build her for Super Break. That stat that you get from Rappa's signature helps you complete the break very, very well. So Himiko is a prime candidate. Does she mind starting with her out? Doesn't mind either, so the additional energy regeneration, the energy that she restores from the Lightcone, is also great on her. Not super critical, but it's a nice plus. At the same time, Himiko doesn't mind basic attacking enemies, so getting the action advance on her to basically help her get more energy or even more skill points for the rest of your team. If she's not the hyper carry and she's not like using the skill points, I see it as quite useful, especially if you're trying to like just give more skill points to the rest of your team, helping your team clear faster as well. So Himiko probably top tier candidate. The other options available that are very, very prime targets will be other characters that don't mind going to break. Physical and fire are the best damage dealers when you talk about break instance. So Argenti is definitely a prime candidate. Break Argenti very strong, a bit niche because he does also do very well with crit, similar to likes of Himiko, but I do see a case like Break Argenti might be possible as well. So Argenti is another one. He doesn't mind using his out more often, so having the energy funnel into him is great. Basic attack is fine for him as well. Helping him action advance helps him fill up his gauge faster. So Argenti is really actually quite solid for it. The other character that I'm thinking of is Serval, a 4-star. If any of you use her, she's also fine with it. Her basic attack is also like does a bit of a pseudo splash on AoE targets. So she actually likes using basic attack a lot, and she outs very, very quickly. Having energy at the start helps her burst really, really quickly. I like this a lot. It helps Serval move more faster, give more skill points to the rest of your team as like a skill point battery and a bit of a break damage dealer if you're looking for that lightning element in your roster. So I think Serval is also pretty nice. The rest of them are so not super like amazing at them. These 3 are really the critical ones, and that's my opinions. If you found this video helpful, we do this every single patch for investment values. You can check out these 2 other videos, which I think you might like as well. And again, thank you guys so much for watching. Like and subscribe for more of such future content. See you in the next video.